Okay, we're going to look at counting with Venn diagrams. So they've given us our explanation. We're going to use a Venn diagram to kind of try to figure this out in the formula. And they said, suppose x is a subset of y. Find x, and this essentially stands for or y. So find out the number of options of x or y when there are 10 units in x and 15 units in y. So when something is a subset, okay, so here's our larger circle. We'll say that this represents the y, okay, and our subset, which is x, is completely contained within it. So here's our value of x. Okay, we need to find out where we have x or y, and we're going to use a little formula here that'll help us visualize what that is. So our formula, let's see if I can get the actual written part of it here, is yes. Okay, so you have, they call it a or b is equal to all of a plus all of b subtracted by a and b. So that upside down n stands for the idea of things that are together. Okay, so the reason that is when they're talking about x or y, this space in here, this right now, it constitutes both x and y. So we're kind of double counting. We only want space that deals with y or space that deals with x. So when we take a, and we'll call a maybe our x value in this case, right? We'll call it the green part. We'll highlight in green. Okay, so this is all of a, or in our case, it's x. So let's replace that formula with x's and y's to make it a little clearer to what we're doing. So they asked again for n x or y is equal to n at x plus n at y subtract n x and, write the word and y. Okay, so our n at x here is this green part, which is, we'll call it 10 units in that case. So we replace the idea of 10 units. Great. We have that. Our y, I'm going to highlight in yellow. Now you'll notice that y here, especially in this subset, is going to include not only the space around x, but let's see when I go over if it changes the color. It doesn't. It's also including the space of x. So we're starting to double count it. We're double counting our x here. So our amount of y values, I think they said there were 15, so it's 10 plus 15 units. But we've now double counted. And because we've double counted, we have to get rid of the region, okay, that is being double counted. So we're looking for where is there x and y. Well, that's going to be, I guess I'll try to highlight it. Again, what other color? Will blue help? No. That does, okay. I'm not going to go over because it'll make it way too dark. But everything within this circle is x and y. Okay, that's those 10 units. So that's both of them together. So we need to subtract blue, x and y. Well, x and y is those 10 units. It's all of those. So we're subtracting that 10 there. So when it comes to this formula, essentially our answer is 15. And depending if something is a subset, like this one is a subset, so the x and y is exactly what the subset is. It's everything within it. When they're kind of separate like this, with that circle up there, the and part will just be the part that's overlapping. Because absolutely everything overlaps here. All of the subset, which is x, is essentially the x and the y in this case. Okay, so it's good to draw these because we can always stick to this formula. This formula is always going to work when we have essentially 2 units there. We just have to be aware what is the x and y when we're going through this question. So now that we've done that part, let's actually do the opposite. Let's say they want to find a or x and y. Well, we can use that formula we had above. In fact, actually, I'm going to manipulate it to isolate for x and b, so I'll show you. So you really only have to memorize the one formula. So we have our x or y is equal to units of x plus all the units of y, subtract all the units of x and y. Well, think of each of these like a term. So I'm going to move this to the other side. I'm going to move this to the other side of the equal sign. So now we're left with all the units of x or y, subtract all the units of x, subtract all the units of y, and they're subtracted because when they go to the other side, they essentially become negatives, okay, of our equal sign. And we're left with negative all the units of x and y. Well, we don't really tend to work with a negative here, so this is just kind of some algebra. Let's divide everything by negative 1 here. And I'm going to rearrange the order of this so it makes a little more sense. This now becomes positive, so we're finding all the units of x and y is equal to all the units of x is now positive, plus all the units of y is now positive. But the x or y is now negative, so subtract all the units of x or y. So they're pretty much the opposite of each other, these two formulas, if you look. In this case, x or y is, how can I really put this? Highlighted. Here's our x and y. Okay. You'll notice that you're always essentially adding these two units. They're going to be positive, and these two spaces will just switch. So let's say they want to find x and y. Well, if it's a subset, we can do the exact same stuff. All the units of x we already knew was 10, plus all the units of y we already knew was 15. And what was our OR? Well, we were able to calculate our OR. The OR is the part that's outside of this middle, right? So the OR is the 15. It's that's exactly what we calculated here. So 10 plus 15, subtract 15, will give us all the units of x and y, and that ends up being 10. And that makes perfect sense with what we just did above. The subset is the AND part. There's those 10 units, the x within it. So that's how we calculate the AND.